My name is Riley Arden. I'm 34, and I was born into a family that never once called me wanted. My parents belonged to the kind of old money crowd in Aspen that hosts charity galas to make headlines and burns bridges behind velvet curtains. My older sister Marla? She's their golden child, elegant, adored, fragile in all the right ways. Me, I was the complication no one asked for. The quiet, inconvenient daughter they couldn't quite scrub from the family photo. I've spent most of my life watching from the sidelines, swallowing the cold truth that no matter how hard I tried, I would never be her. But then came the night they locked the door behind me and left me outside, barefoot in a blizzard, because Marla was upset. What they didn't know is, I'm the sole heir to a $3.3 billion fortune. And I'm done playing the unwanted one. The storm hit fast. One moment, I was helping clear the table after Marla's engagement dinner, her third if we're counting. And the next, the sky outside had turned to bruised slate, wind screaming like it knew a secret. You always have to make it about you, Marla snapped, pushing the door to the dining room open hard enough for the glass to tremble. I hadn't said a word, just sat there, my glass of seltzer untouched, my presence alone apparently enough to throw her world off axis. Maybe if you'd just go for once, my mother said softly, soft like a scalpel, we could have one evening without drama. I stood. You're asking me to leave? There's a storm. Then bundle up, my father muttered. His jaw clenched. He didn't look at me. None of them ever did when they wanted to pretend I was already gone. No one raised their voice. No one shouted. They didn't need to. Rich people can destroy you with politeness. I stepped into the cold with nothing but a thin coat and my car keys. It was below freezing. The wind sliced through fabric like it wasn't there. My phone buzzed, a message from Camden. Don't fight them. Just leave. It's safer that way. Safer? My boots crunched across the icy driveway. My breath came in ragged clouds. I made it to the car, an old black Ford SUV with a stubborn ignition and a heater that coughed before it worked. As I slammed the door, my hands shook, not from cold, from something deeper, a buried burn that had waited decades to turn flame. There's something liberating about being erased. Now I get to rewrite the ending. The headlights cut through the snow like knives. I didn't know where I was going, only that I wasn't coming back. I passed the gates of the Arden estate, tall iron monstrosities wrapped in holly and lies, and sped into the night. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number, we need to talk. You're in danger. Don't trust anyone at the house. I slammed on the brakes. The SUV skidded sideways, tires screaming. The screen cracked as it hit the floor. Another message popped up through the shattered glass. They know about the trust. They're coming for it. The wind howled louder now, the kind of sound that made you believe in ghosts. I turned back to the road, heart pounding. Headlights behind me. Too close. No one should have been out here. I pressed harder on the gas. The car behind me didn't pass. It followed. Too tight. Too precise. My chest tightened. You've got to be kidding me. I veered right, hard, onto an unlit side road. No street lamps. Just trees and shadows and a silence too sharp to be natural. The other car stayed behind me. I made another turn. Lost. Fast. Too fast. The Ford's tires caught on ice. I swerved. Slid. The world spun. Then. Black. I woke up to the dashboard glowing. A sharp ache behind my eyes. My lip split. The other car was gone. So was my phone. But in the passenger seat sat a red envelope with a wax seal, Arden family crest pressed into blood-colored wax. Inside a single card. The snow doesn't lie. Neither will the will. My breath froze. A second line was handwritten in black ink, unmistakably my sister's looping script. You were never supposed to come back. The penthouse was too quiet. Not the rich kind of quiet, no. This was surgical. Sterile, like someone had wiped the air clean of sound. I came to in a king-size bed with crisp white sheets and blackout curtains drawn so tight the room felt buried. A woman stood in the corner, impeccable suit, no makeup, clipboard in hand. "You're safe," she said. I didn't answer. My eyes went to the wrist monitor, strapped to my arm. My clothes were gone. My phone gone. My baby gone. "Where's my daughter?" I croaked. "Sleeping," the woman said. "Down the hall. With security." I sat up, ignoring the scream in my ribs. "Who are you?" "Savannah Keene, legal representative of the Davenport Trust. I've been waiting for you, Riley." Cut scene. A manila folder drops onto the marble table. Inside, an official document, last will and testament. Richard Davenport, my grandfather. Dated 3 weeks ago. Savannah pushed her glasses up. "You're the primary beneficiary, and the only legitimate heir. I haven't seen him in 17 years. He saw you." My hands shook as I flipped through pages. Assets. Stocks. Real estate. Shell corporations. Trust accounts under anonymous code names. One caught my eye. Snowbird A9, valued at $126 million. "You're telling me he left me everything?" "No," Savannah paused. "He left you a war." My pulse skipped. I looked around. No cameras, but I felt watched. "You're not the first person they've tried to erase, Riley. You're just the only one who came back." I closed the file. "So where's the catch?" Savannah opened a second folder. This one thin. Only one page. A copy of a wire transfer. $1.2 million. To a personal account registered to Marla Arden. Date: 24 hours before Richard's death. Twist drop. My breath caught. She was paid. To disappear evidence. Testify against you if needed. I stood too fast. Dizzy. Heart pounding like a warning siren in my chest. "Richard died of heart failure," I said. Savannah didn't blink. "So the coroner ruled." I grabbed the edge of the table. Cold marble. Reality. "You think she had something to do with it?" "I think she's already erased the original will. And if you hadn't been found, she would have succeeded." Flash cut. Security footage. Savannah's iPad screen glows. Footage. Marla. Meeting Carter Voss, a name I knew from Family Whispers. Ruthless. Board level. Power broker. Marla hands him something. A flash of blue. Medical records. "What is that?" Savannah's voice dropped. "Your psychiatric file." "My what?" She filed paperwork. Said you were unstable. Dangerous. It would have gone through if you hadn't walked out of that blizzard alive. Camera cut. Phone vibrating. Unknown number again. This time just a photo. Me. In the SUV. Blood on my forehead. Eyes shut. The shot taken from behind a windshield. Someone had followed me. No. Watched me. Waited. I moved to the safe in the corner. Digital pad. 6 digits. I tried my birthday. Locked. "Try his," Savannah said. I entered Richard's. 050943. Click. Inside a flash drive. A red envelope. I opened the envelope first. Inside, one sentence in his unmistakable handwriting. "If you're reading this, they've already lied to you." Savannah slid the drive into her laptop. A video loaded. Richard sat at his desk. Pale. Tired. Dead in the eyes. "Riley," he said, "they won't stop with me. They want the name. The empire. The silence." He leaned forward. "The original will is hidden in a place only you would understand." I changed the clause. "If you survive until January 1st, uncommitted, alive, the inheritance activates. If not, it defaults to the board." He smiled faintly. "I always knew you'd outlive them." The screen went black. My pulse echoed in my skull. January 1st. It was December 18th. "They didn't just abandon me," I whispered. "They planned it." The first rule of survival? Stop assuming people are who they pretend to be. I stood in front of the mirror, bruises still lining my cheekbone. My skin felt too tight, my mind sharper than it had in years. Trauma does that, it burns the rust off. The red envelope was still on the counter. The wax seal cracked in half like bone. Richard's handwriting stared back at me. They've already lied to you. I believed him. The dead don't waste words. Cut scene. Boardroom. Frosted glass. Chairs too clean. People too polished. Savannah led me in like I was royalty and bait. 12 members of the Davenport Executive Board sat waiting. All men, except Marla. She turned just enough to meet my eyes. No smile, no recognition, just war. Miss Arden, said Carter Voss, Chairman Pro Tem, this meeting is unexpected. So was my attempted murder, I replied. A pause. 2 of the board members shifted uncomfortably. One scribbled something fast. Marla didn't blink. Where's the original will? I asked. You were declared legally incapacitated, Carter said calmly. We believed. You believed I'd freeze to death, I cut him off, or be committed before January 1st. So the clause wouldn't activate. Carter didn't deny it. That's slander, Marla said, finally speaking. You can't prove anything. I tossed the flash drive onto the table. I already did. Video loaded on the screen behind me. Richard's recorded confession. Dead silence. The board squirmed. Savannah leaned in. You've been operating under an invalid governance structure. Everything signed posthumously is subject to reversal. Your psychiatric file says otherwise, Carter muttered. I turned toward him. Calm. Cold. You mean the file Marla commissioned, paid for, and forged? The one Savannah already submitted to the district attorney. Another beat. Then chaos. Cut scene. Security footage played. Marla, in Aspen General, meeting Nolan Yates, a corrupt psychiatrist later indicted in a malpractice case. She passed him a check. $50,000. Cashiers. Memo line. Final evaluation. Savannah didn't wait. She slid a sealed affidavit across the table. Signed by Dr. Nolan Yates before he was taken into custody. He admits Marla Arden fabricated symptoms and bribed him to commit Riley Arden under false pretenses. Carter's voice cracked. You've clearly come prepared. I had to, I said. When your family wants you dead, you learn how to read fine print fast. Bang. The door flew open. Detective Grant. Badge. Papers. Warrant. This is now a criminal investigation. Effective immediately, all assets related to the disputed trust are frozen pending review. Carter Voss and Marla Arden, you're named in the warrant. Boardroom panic. Phones lit up. Whispers. One man left his seat. Carter stood, slowly, face pale. Marla didn't move. As Grant read out charges, I walked to the window. Snow fell outside. Gentle. Deceptive. I once thought snow was quiet. Safe. Clean. But it hides blood better than rain. You set me up, I whispered without turning. You stood there and let them drag me out into the storm. For this. For power. Behind me, Marla finally snapped. I made you, she hissed. Without me, you were just the daughter they pitted. I gave you teeth. I turned around. Then you're going to love what I bite back. Cliffhanger. The boardroom lights flickered. My phone buzzed. A new message. The brake lines weren't the only thing we cut. The message on my phone, the brake lines weren't the only thing we cut, was still burning in my mind when the penthouse lights blinked twice and died. Silence. Then the low hum of the emergency generator. Savannah stiffened beside me. They're escalating. No kidding. I moved toward the window. Snow hurled itself against the glass like it wanted in. Denver's skyline flickered. Whole blocks dipping into darkness. A citywide outage? No. A distraction. A rule someone once threw at me echoed in my head. When everything goes dark, the danger isn't the darkness, it's who planned it. My phone buzzed again. This time a video. My SUV from last night. A shadow cutting the brake lines. Slow. Precise. Too calm for someone improvising murder. A glove lifted into view. A ring. Marla's ring. My breath caught. She wasn't just helping them, she was there. Savannah didn't speak. She didn't have to. Cut scene. Alarm flashes. Aiden Cross, former U.S. Marshal, current nightmare come to life. Burst through the door in tactical black. No knock. No hesitation. Pack a go bag, he said. You're leaving. Now. Leaving. I snapped. They tried to kill me twice, Aiden. And now I run. He stared at me, expression hard. You stay, you die. Why do you care? He looked away. Because your grandfather paid me to. The room froze. My pulse did too. You worked for Richard. Sort of, he said. He knew something was coming. Told me. Protect her from the people who pretend they're her family. The irony tasted like metal. The elevator was dead. We take the service stairs, Aiden said. We don't use predictable exits. Predictable, I repeated, almost laughing. Story of my life. Floor 52 to floor 1 felt like descending through a spine. Every landing. Aiden paused. Gun raised, breath shallow. Savannah whispered behind me. There's a saying, you only get hunted when you finally matter. Comforting. We reached floor 18. Metal clanged. A door above us slammed open. Footsteps. Fast. Too fast. Aiden shoved me behind him. Keep moving. Cut scene. Garage level. Cold. Concrete. Exhaust scented. A black sedan waited. Not ours. A man stood beside it. Suit. Gloves. No face visible beneath a hood. He stepped forward. Aiden grabbed my arm. Back up. Slowly. The man didn't speak. He just pointed behind us. I turned. A red laser rested on my chest. Sniper, Aiden muttered. Roof. My breath stuttered. Then movement. Aiden grabbed me end of, shoving me behind a concrete pillar. A single shot cracked through the garage. Sparks exploded from the ground inches from my foot. Too close. Too professional. I pressed my forehead to the cold concrete. Why are they doing this? I'm just. No, Aiden said. You're not just anything. Not to them. Cut scene. The mysterious man sprinted to his car and peeled out. Aiden saw the plates. Fake, he growled. They're not sloppy. They want you rattled. A stray thought slid into my head, icy unwelcome. Fear is a leash. Once it's on you, they don't need chains. I pushed it out. I didn't have time for fear. Aiden signaled Savannah. Plan B. What's Plan B? I asked. He popped the trunk of an unmarked SUV. Inside, tactical gear, files, a burner laptop, and a baby carrier. My baby. My knees almost buckled with relief. You thought I'd leave her behind? Savannah asked. You're a mother first. Heiress second. As we pulled out of the garage, Savannah opened a new file. Richard left something else, she said. She slid me a document. A list of names typed in severe black ink. 5 names. One was Carter Voss. One was Nolan Yates. One was Marla. The other 2 were Davenport board members. Label at the top. Conspiracy to disinherit. Phase 2 implementation. Ice crawled down my spine. Phase 2. Aiden exhaled. Means there was a Phase 1. And a Phase 3, Savannah murmured. These plans aren't one-offs. They're layered. Calculated. Someone with access, money, and knowledge of legal succession. My stomach turned. And Richard knew. Cut scene. The SUV sped toward a safe house outside Denver. The storm thrashed harder. Aiden drove like he was being hunted, probably because we were. Why would my mother be listed? I whispered, "You really want the answer?" Savannah asked, "No, but I need it." She looked forward, because she signed off on the affidavit. She didn't just cover for Marla. She authorized you being declared mentally incompetent. My chest tightened. She wouldn't. Savannah didn't respond. The silence was my answer. Thunder rolled across the sky as we reached the outskirts. The road narrowed. Snow hit the windshield like shrapnel. I glanced at my daughter in the carrier beside me. Peaceful. Oblivious. Aiden muttered, "If they're willing to kill for the Empire, they'll kill for silence." I swallowed. Hard. My own mother? His jaw clenched. Blood doesn't guarantee loyalty. Sometimes it only guarantees access. Lightning flashed. The SUV swerved. Something was in the road. A figure. Standing still. Watching. Aiden cursed and braked, but not fast enough. We slid sideways, missing the figure by inches. I whipped my head around. The figure disappeared into the treeline. Not a hallucination. Not the wind. Someone was marking us. Tracking. Waiting. A message disguised as presence. The storm swallowed the world whole. I looked at Aiden. They needed me gone before January 1st. He didn't disagree. I looked back into the storm, and they've just started hunting. The air in the safe house felt too still, like sound had been edited out. I didn't want stillness. I wanted answers. Savannah sat opposite me, eyes tired but sharp. She'd been awake for hours, combing through the files we had, transaction records, affidavits, and encrypted logs from the flash drive. Aiden was nowhere to be seen. He had gone to meet Detective Grant. Trust no room where a weapon isn't drawn. That was another rule I learned. I leaned forward. Why would my mother sign anything? Savannah didn't look at me, because she thought it would protect her. Protect her from what? Her gaze snapped up. From you. The thought hit like ice in my veins. I'm not trying to kill anyone, I said quietly. But she did, Savannah replied. Not with her hands, with her allegiance. I looked down at my daughter, sleeping in the travel bassinet. Her tiny chest rose and fell, free of fear, unlike me. A voice echoed in my head. We judge others not by their strength, but by our fear of their strength. Was I strong? Or just running out of options? Cut scene. My phone blinked with a text. Unknown number. We're closer than you think. Then an address. I frowned. Why would they want me to go to them? Savannah's face was still. Too calm. Because it's a trap. I didn't care. I needed more. I needed truth. Idlesed fast. Boots. Jacket. Baby secure. Aiden met me at the door. No, he said. You're not going alone. I grabbed his arm. Hard. They want me dead. Every day we hide makes them stronger. He didn't pull away. Then we go together, he said. And we don't fall for bait. The snow was falling like shards against the SUV windshield. A dress led us to a private estate. Empty fields, no lights, no movement. Except one. A lone building at the far end. Dark windows. One light inside. I shivered. Not from cold. From recognition. My mother's handwriting. On an old postmark stuck to a weathered envelope. It was the same envelope I'd opened in the penthouse. I exhaled hard. Cut scene. We reached the building. No sign of life. Aiden held the door. Gun raised. I followed, breath shallow, nerves tight. Inside was empty, dusty floors, broken furniture. A single lamp casting harsh shadows. Then we heard it. Footsteps. Slow. Deliberate. From the second floor. I whispered, "They're here." Instantly the lights flickered, then went out. Pitch black. Only the storm outside dared make sound. We moved. Gun lights on. Shadows stretched long. An old study. A desk. Papers strewn. Then behind the desk. A shape. Not alive. Not breathing. My mother. Cold. Pale. Eyes open. No pulse. I staggered back, breath stuttering. Aiden's voice dropped low. She's dead. I stared at her like I hadn't seen her in years. A letter clutched in her hand. I reached for it. My fingers trembled. The line she'd written, still warm with ink. I did what I had to. I opened it. Inside, a printed bank statement. Hundreds of thousands routed through shell accounts. Not just one. Dozens. Each linked back to the same two names. Marla and Carter Voss. Cut scene. I slipped out of the house. Aiden beside me. Savannah on speaker. She listened. Quiet. Then she said, "This isn't just inheritance. This was laundering. Using familial ties to disguise movement of funds." I blinked. Of course. Why wouldn't corruption have layers? It was too neat. Too deliberate. And suddenly far bigger than me. Twist hit like a punch. Marla's intentions weren't only about disinheriting me. She was protecting something bigger. Something illegal. Something criminal. Everything they did, burying me in the snow. The forged psychiatric affidavits. The elimination of Richard's original will. They were not just greedy. They were hiding. From the law. From justice. And from all those who assumed their wealth equaled innocence. I felt it then. A new terror. Not of dying. Of realizing I had been a pawn. Not the threat. Not the target. But the distraction. A powerful enemy lay behind the scenes. And I had just pulled a corner of the curtain. The wind whipped outside. Lights flickered. And in the distance, a car engine started. Slow. Intentional. Not leaving. Waiting. Someone watched. Waiting for movement. Waiting for fear. A chill ran up my spine. My mother was dead, but the ghost of her choices lived. Inside us. Inside them. And inside every secret we had yet to uncover. The phone buzzed again. Aiden read it over my shoulder. His voice dropped. "Savannah, it's from her." My mother. But impossible. The message flashed on the screen. "You're closer than you think." I stared at the words. Heart hammering. They weren't finished with me. Not by a long shot. "We're closer than you think, and we're watching." I saw her first in the courthouse foyer, Marla Arden, wrapped in a tailored suit that cost more than most people earn in a year. Her eyes were hollow. No fire. No arrogance. Just the brittle look of someone who had finally realized their puppet strings had been cut. She didn't speak. Her lawyer did. "We move for dismissal based on procedural error," he said, voice slick. Detective Grant was beside me. No expression, his calm was a weapon. "There are no procedural errors," he snapped. "You committed fraud, bribery, attempted murder." The room shivered. I felt it more than heard it. Then Marla's lips parted. "My father never loved you," she said. "I know," I replied. I'd heard it before, but now it didn't cut. Not the way lies used to. Cut scene. We were inside the judge's chambers. Winter sun hazed through tall windows. Snowflakes clung to the glass like trapped spirits. The judge looked down at us stern. "Ms. Arden, we will proceed. The charges are serious." Marla twisted in her seat as if the walls themselves were tightening around her. I stayed still, because in that moment I finally understood something deep and cold as the storm that nearly killed me. Justice isn't mercy for the guilty, it's certainty for the innocent. The judge's gavel struck like drumfire. "Marla Arden," he said, voice firm. "You are hereby remanded. Bail is denied." Shocks rippled through the room. Marla sagged. I felt no triumph, not then. Cut scene. Outside, cameras flashed, a frenzy. Reporters shouted questions I barely heard. "Riley Arden, is this the end of the Arden legacy?" I looked down at my daughter in arms. She was safe, unaware of the storm she'd been born into. I breathed in slowly. "Legacy isn't what you inherit," I said under my breath. It's what you choose to pass on. Someone nearby wrote that down. Weeks passed. The trial stretched like winter twilight. Beautiful, but merciless. One by one, the evidence we uncovered dismantled the conspiracy. Carter Voss confessed. 2 board members indicted. Ghost accounts traced. Shell corporations exposed. Every illegal transfer. Every forged document. It wasn't simple justice. It was surgical. Cut scene. I stood in front of the Denver Art Museum. Snow drifted in tiny spirals. Reporters' eyes bright. A large check in hand, $100 million. For the Davenport Foundation, I announced. For survivors of coercion, betrayal, and familial violence. Thousands had suffered as I had. Some worse. Some silent. No one should be disposable. Not to their blood. Not to their name. Not to their future. Twist reveal. Marla's final message came through my secure phone. You think this ends with me? This empire, your birthright doesn't belong to you. I didn't respond. Instead, I forwarded it to the prosecutor. Admission of intent, I said. Click. In the quiet of my office later, I found the original will. Filed correctly this time. Unmistakable, untouchable. Signed. Witnessed. Recorded under statutory law. $3.3 billion. Not stolen. Not forged. Given. By the man who knew I'd need it. My grandfather. He'd place conditions. Not traps. Safeguards. Only the strong survive, I whispered, recalling something he once told me years ago, long before betrayal, long before snow. Strength isn't measured by endurance, but by what you protect with it. My daughter stirred. I smiled. Not with relief. With quiet certainty. Cut scene. 3 months later, the Denver skyline glowed in early winter light. I stood at a podium in a packed auditorium. Today, I said, scanning the faces before me, we mark a new chapter for the Davenport Foundation. Applause. Then silence. Then truth. We rise not because we are entitled, I continued, but because we choose to stand when we are broken. We choose to protect those who cannot. We choose justice over fear. A flashbulb popped. Another. I looked down at my daughter, now toddling at my feet. And I knew then, legacy wasn't survival. Legacy was transformation. It was turning wounds into wisdom. Pain into purpose. Betrayal into protection. Cut scene. Night. The penthouse balcony. Snow fell gently. Clean this time. Peaceful. Aiden stood beside me. No words. Just presence. Just the calm after chaos. I took a breath and said, "Cold never lasts forever." He nodded. The city lights shimmered like constellations beneath us. I thought of how far I'd come. From being left to die, to standing alive. 125 stories above ground, and unshakably whole. For the first time in years, I slept without looking over my shoulder. Because I knew this. No storm, not even the one that tried to bury me, could ever define who I became. And that was enough.